everybody, it is that time of year. It is the time to give you the announcements for who our 2024 National AE High Altitude Balloon Challenge Award winners are. First, I want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Captain Bob Roberts. I am with the Greenville, South Carolina Composite Squadron. At the national level, I am the AE Programs Lead as well as High Altitude Balloon Challenge Technical Director. And many of you also know me from the Aerospace Education YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out the channel, I recommend you can do so. We have lessons on all of the AE Dimensions modules that'll help you out if you're a cadet. If you're a senior member, feel free to share that. And do us a favor. Give us a like and give us a subscriber. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers now, which is pretty great. With that, I want to turn this over to our very own CAP National Commander.
Good evening, leaders. This 6-month National STEM program has come to an end with the National Award recipients being announced tonight. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to see the winners announced. Before we get to that, I would like to share my gratitude with all the cadets and the adult leaders who took the extra time to participate in our 4th annual National Aerospace Education High Altitude Balloon Challenge. More than 1,500 cadets and 250 adults from 167 squadrons participated this year. All 8 regions and 49 wings accepted this year's STEM challenge. We know each participating squadron spent countless hours going above and beyond their regular squadron obligations to create the more than 400 innovative experiments that were tested near the edge of space. I want to extend appreciation also to the adult leaders and cadets from the Indiana and Ohio wings for their search and rescue exercise mission support as they helped us track the 3 balloons launched from Indiana Wings Anderson Preparatory Cadet Squadron's home base in August, which carried these experiments toward the stratosphere. The Indiana Wings coordination team organized airplanes, drones, and a communications center to support the ground teams from both the Indiana and Ohio wings that worked to retrieve the 3 payloads of experiments when they landed after the balloons burst. The experiment capsules were then returned to the squadrons for their experiment analysis and reporting. This challenge is an impressive collaboration effort of hundreds of people involved in Civil Air Patrol's 3 major programs: aerospace education, cadet programs, and operations, resulting in a full spectrum STEM mission. Tonight, we are eagerly awaiting the announcement of the national winner of the 2024 Kittinger Cup and the $5,000 prize graciously donated by the Kittinger family in Colonel Kittinger's memory. We certainly appreciate the Kittingers' continued support of this educational program for our cadets. Other awards will be announced for winners of the mission patches, video documentaries, and science analysis reports. Those winners will receive grants from our treasured partner, the Air and Space Forces Association. Many thanks to the AFA for their sustained support of CAP's aerospace and STEM programs. Through this program, as each team researched science opportunities to improve how humans can live and work in space, I know that each of you explored how you could work better as a team to accomplish a challenging goal. I applaud each of you for this extra effort, and I hope what you have learned through this program will help propel you onward toward greater challenges of innovation and accomplishments in your lives. Thank you to everyone who participated in this event. Well, that's enough from me. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to find out who wins. Over to you, teammates.
All right, so before we get started, we have to give a special thanks out to a few individuals. We want to give out a shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Liz Dunster and Captain Nick Green. They are, for the very first year, this is our 4th year doing it, they're our first year co-High Altitude Balloon Challenge directors. They're also North Carolina Wing Director of AEs. And there's 2 additional folks that we couldn't do this without their help. Lieutenant Colonel Karen Cooper, who is the Northeast Region DCS, and Major Juliet Sixpanis, who is New Hampshire Wing DAEA. Thank you very much to everybody that's been helping at the national level. We also want to give out a special thanks to a few of the launch day teams. So what a lot of you see is you see this face on the videos, you see emails coming from a few folks, but what you don't see is literally a small army of people that it takes to run this thing the day of for the launch. And we want to give out a special shout out to a few of them. Somebody was actually, I think it might have been his first or second year, but really stepped up big this year. He'll probably be surprised when he hears his name on this video. But Major James Boost, I hope I said your last name right, from Indiana Wing. He acted as the IC. We had to do a quick IC change at the very end, and he just jumped right in. He wasn't an IC the previous years. There were still some operational things that had to get worked out, and he just came in and was just a joy to work with, and I can't speak highly enough. So Major Boyce, thank you very much for all your help this year. I really do appreciate it. And then last but definitely not least, we have to thank Lieutenant Michael Dean, who is the Indiana 803 Anderson Preparatory Academy commander. He's taken over this year as that commander of that squadron, and that's the local squadron that does the launch. So they help to coordinate all the cadets that are on the ground. They help coordinate communications between the teams. And Michael Dean, this was his first year in that role. He assisted last year. This was his first year of really kind of taking charge of that, and did a fantastic job. Thanks so much, Michael. Appreciate you. We want to give a special thank you to our national headquarters in AE, Dr. Shayla Freeman, who is our director, and Susan Millette, who many of you know is our education outreach coordinator. Thank you to both of them. Dr. Shayla Freeman, this is her first year with this program being the director, and she has been really, really supportive of this program. Every time I've had a chance to talk to her, she's just so supportive of all the work that all the volunteers do, this program, the AE program in general. And I know we're really looking forward to Dr. Freeman and the years ahead with her. Thanks so much. Now, many of our awards actually come in the form of an AFA grant. So we have to make sure we give a special thank you to the Air and Space Forces Association for all of their grants. And thanks to the AFA, programs across the country, you can apply for AFA grants. I recommend you do that. I have applied and gotten one of those myself for our squadron in the past. So make sure you're doing that. And, but also the AFA, just in general, has always been such a huge supporter of Civil Air Patrol. They're a huge supporter of this program, supporter of the other AE programs that we have across the country. And so to the AFA, I want to thank you very much. All right. So one announcement that the team wants us to make. If you think that you're going to win multiple awards or you don't see your name on an award this year, we want you to keep pushing forward. Next year, we just have so many incredible squadrons that they're competing for multiple entries, especially if they're going for the Colonel Joe Kittinger Cup. And it's really, really hard. Not everybody can win, right? So if you have 167, we'll see what it is a little bit later. 167, I think, units took part. And, so you just can't have a winner in every one of them. I can tell you that, from years on past, we see this progression, right? So, it's almost like, you get that freshman, basketball player, and they come in and they're pretty good as a freshman, right? They're working really, really hard, but hey, they don't get the MVP that first year, right? They work really hard the next year. They get a little better, not the MVP that year. But hey, that junior, senior year, maybe they get the MVP. They take their team to state. And so just keep driving forward. Try to take a look at what you did, look at what the winners did, see where you can improve. And you might want to take a look at your rubric. You can ask the team for your rubric, and they'll provide that to you. The other thing too is you want to make sure is a lot of teams are missing one or a couple of items that are important in the rubrics. And so there are specific rubrics. It's really important if you weren't using the rubrics and you weren't kind of checking them off, you want to make sure you do that. There's a couple of teams that had really, really great projects, but they just were missing something, or they included something that they can't. As an example, for the videos, you can't put a Beyonce song as your background music. It gets flagged on YouTube. I know when we did the launch video from the pre-videos, we showed a whole bunch of videos. I got 7 copyright strikes from people's videos. So thankfully, they didn't take the channel down. We were able to clean them up. But really important that you do follow those rubrics and those rules. All right, enough of that. Let's get to why you're actually here. Let's go on to the winners. First, for the mission patch winners, the heraldry design description submitted for each patch, it was a really big part of the patch selections. It's not just the aesthetics. So you really had to make sure you followed those rules. With that, our hand-drawn mission patches for our finalists and the receivers of $150 AFA grant, we have DC 053, Fairfax Composite Squadron, and California 410, Cloverfield Composite Squadron. And that means our winner is, with a $200 AFA grant and placement on the High Altitude Balloon Challenge certificate, is New York 311, the 9th Suffolk Cadet Squadron. Thank you very much, guys. Great job. I loved, again, these are the hand-drawn ones. Somebody's far more artistic than I'll ever be. So that looks wonderful. Let's go on now to the digitally drawn mission patches. All right. Also, with the $150 AFA grant for our finalists, we have California 469, Pancho Barnes Composite Squadron 49, and Texas 179, Thunderbird Composite Squadron. Nice job. And our winner and the $200 AFA grant is Wyoming 059, Captain Michael S. Walker Memorial Composite Squadron. Great job. See our tube there flying high above the earth. Very nice. All right. Our pre-launch videos included information about mission patch design and science experiment and research and creation. I just want to say a quick word about the videos. Videos are really hard to do, and they're hard to make, them good. And so, the teams that you could tell when they really put their time and effort into their pre-launch. If you're a team that just doesn't have that kind of time, you just don't have, you maybe don't even have the equipment. You don't have, everybody's, a lot of phones out there can take video now. So, equipment's not as much of an issue as maybe was, before the cell phones with all the video cameras. But it's still really, really hard to do well. I will say that the team appreciates all the videos. It's great to see all the hard work, even if it's not going to have fancy graphics or, special lighting and special audio. Go ahead. If you're doing this next year, keep doing those. It's a great way to document what your team is working on. And I can tell you the scoring teams love seeing them. I know I can tell you I love seeing them. I loved when we do the launch video, we shared almost all of them. So I apologize if you didn't get yours shared, but we shared quite a few of them. So yeah, send those in next year, and we'll try to make sure we get those on during the launch windows. All right. So with that, the pre-launch video finalists with a $150 AFA grant, we have Georgia 65 Composite Squadron, and we have North Carolina 31 Moore County Composite Squadron. And that is DeKalb County, Georgia 65, DeKalb County. Congratulations to the two of you. And the winner of our $200 AFA grant is Pennsylvania 160, Willow Grove JRB Composite Squadron 902. Congratulations. And also, I really liked your patch too. Patches look great. All right. Science experiment report. This is the report of the team's best experiment, which includes the hypothesis, research results, and relevance to future space exploration. Now, if you haven't heard us talk about this before, and if you want to do this competition next year, and we hope you do, What we want you to think of when you think of these experiment reports, we want to think about walking down a university science hallway. And a lot of times what you will see is you will see grad students and undergrad students, they'll take their science experiments and they'll make these big boards and they'll put them up on the wall. And that's their way to advertise to the other students and to the other faculty, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what's been really important to me, to the team. And here's what we are working on, and here's what we found out. That's really, really important in the scientific community. And so what the science experiment reports are is it goes into basically how you're presenting your information. Also, I will tell you that Colonel Joe and I had talked quite a bit. And Colonel Joe was always really adamant that everything else is fine. The patches are fun. They're great. The videos are fun. They're great. The science is most important. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at this year's grant award winners. And as we had said, we think that the science program is probably the most important. And so we upped the AFA grants for these. So the finalists are going to receive $300 AFA grants. And the first finalist is Washington 49, Painfield Composite Squadron. And great job with putting pictures. They have their scientific data, their graphs, their conclusions, what references you had. This is great stuff. I enjoyed seeing all of these. And our next finalist is no stranger to the High Altitude Balloon Challenge award categories. And that is North Carolina 48 Raleigh Wake Composite Squadron. They win the $300 for their finalists for their science experiment prize. Congratulations to them. All right, and so the winner of the $350 AFA grant for our science slides are Virginia 141 Hampton Roads Composite Squadron. This was great. It gave you a lot of fantastic information. It did it in a way that was easily digestible. And frankly, the science itself was really interesting. We're going to be posting all of these on the High Altitude Balloon Challenge website. And so if you wanted to kind of look into this closer, if you wanted to download a copy of any of these, you can do so there, and that'll give you some ideas for next year. All right. Now, let's go on to the documentary videos. So the documentary video is after you get your capsules back, you're doing your experiments, you're checking your hypothesis against what actually happened, and you're kind of following along that journey throughout the whole program. And you want to really kind of focus in, as we say here, on the science experiment itself, include the teams, and we asked for you to include the team's plan if you were to win the Colonel Joe Kittinger Cup and the cash prize if you win it. All right, and with that, let's take a look at our two documentary video finalists. Each of them will receive a $250 AFA grant. The first is Maryland 031, Jamestown Composite Squadron. And our second is Virginia 89, Carolyn Girton Cadet Squadron. Congratulations. Also, I really liked your patches as well. I will say, just in general, patches, this is our fourth year doing this. Every year, the patches get better and better and better. I'm really impressed. If there's some people out there in CAP land that need some graphic design work, we know where we can get help. A lot of great patches out there. All right. And the documentary winner on the $350 AFA grant is Massachusetts 007 Goddard Cadet Squadron. And again, great patch. And we're going to show you that video now.
Hello, my name is Cadet Captain Henry O'Brien, inspired by the ever-intrepid Colonel Kittinger. This is Goddard's 4th HAB Challenge.
There are so many people who helped us along our HAB journey.
We want to thank Colonel Brian McCaffrey in particular. He spent hours teaching us how to work with Arduinos.
Also, Dr. Gurdon, Chemistry Department Chair of Emmanuel College. If we win this competition, we will donate half of the proceeds to UNICEF.
And the other half to our squadron. To the
Stratosphere and beyond.
I messed up.
Oh, my cap.
Okay.
Does anybody's cap, is your cap too small for you?
You're not facing us. You're going to do the same thing. 1, 2.
I'm really excited about today's orientation flight, Hari.
Me too, Shreya. It's not often that we get to fly with the mission goal. We're flying over the largest community solar farm in the USA.
Road Community Solar Farm. Incredible! There are over 61,000 solar panels below, and they cover over 200 acres of land.
Solar energy collection is crucial for space travel, powering spacecraft and the International Space Station.
Speaking of the ISS, engineers are currently designing the Gateway Space Station. Our experiment was designed to test a new solution for solar power, thin film solar cells. They're lighter, more flexible, and less expensive than current solar panels.
We sent 2 thin film solar cells into space, one with a protective glass layer and another without. Our hypothesis is that the unprotected cell would produce a greater voltage than the protected cell, as the glass coating would refract some light. We also hypothesized that the exposure to high levels of UV radiation in space would decrease the voltage output of test cells versus that of the control cells.
In fact, there was a statistically significant difference between the protected and the unprotected cells. However, when comparing the control versus the test cells, there wasn't a significant difference, meaning they're just as effective on the ground as they are in low orbit. Analyzing data from each capsule's internal UV sensor, we found out there was relatively low UV exposure. We hypothesized this to be because of the plastic capsule blocking majority of the UV light.
Based on our data, thin film solar cells will function successfully in low orbit environments and should be considered in the design of the Gateway Space Station. Their lightweight will decrease fuel consumption, while their compact structure will allow for increased cargo space on all future spacecraft. Finally, they are cost-effective in comparison to traditional solar panels, thereby lowering the cost of future space missions.
Hi everyone, I'm astronaut James now, and I'm about to go on my very first mission to space. I'm a bit worried though. What if I lose muscle mass in space? That's why I work out every day.
Henry O'Brien to the rescue. This jar contains just what you need. Creatine monohydrate can increase muscle performance and muscle mass here on Earth. The question is, will it hold up in space? Namish?
We hypothesize that the chemical composition of creatine will degrade due to the high UV radiation in space. At Emmanuel College, we learned how to make dilutions of creatine, how to use a spectrophotometer and infrared spectrometer to measure the molecular damage.
Gentlemen, let's cut to the chase. Will UV radiation affect the creatine?
No worries. Exposure to radiation in space did not degrade the creatine.
The result of the studies was reassuring. It suggests that creatine can be effectively used to maintain muscle health in space. However, need to improve the design. The test capsule is made out of plastic. Plastic will also filter some UV radiation. Also, we did not study the effect of X-rays on the creatine molecule.
All right. Thanks again. Great job to Massachusetts 007. All right. Now it's time for our 2024 Colonel Joe Kittinger Cup Award winner. First, let's look at our finalists. All right. Coming in third place, receiving a $400 AFA grant, it's going to be Virginia 007, William P. Knight Composite Squadron, who seems like they're in this thing to win it every year. Fantastic leadership, fantastic cadets. They really work hard on this. Coming in second place, getting an AFA grant of $500, is going to be Wisconsin 183 Stevens Point Composite Squadron. Great job. All right, that leaves us to the very end here. And with that, it is time to announce this year's $5,000 Colonel Joe Kittinger Cup, and that's going to be Ohio 131 Cuyahoga County Cadet Squadron, otherwise known as the Black Sheep. Let's go ahead and watch their video now.
Welcome to the Great Lakes Region, Ohio 131, the Cuyahoga County Cadet Squadron, where inquisitive minds have been working on the 2024 CAP High Altitude Balloon Challenge.
Our payload idea came from current news about solar flares and what we learned at the Space Force Operations NCSA about how NASA shields its equipment during solar flares.
Our hypothesis is that Faraday fabrics will protect electronics from the damaging effects of electromagnetic interference, known as EMIs.
We used design thinking process to build our project. We learned about solar flares, EMIs, and electronics, brainstormed viable ideas, researched shielding tools, built prototypes and tested them, analyzed our data, and came up with a conclusion. We got free EMI shielding samples and chose the Faraday fabric as our EMI shield of choice.
Faraday fabric is made by weaving fibers coated with metals like copper, nickel, or silver, and it effectively blocks EMIs from solar flares in space.
We learned how to program an Arduino microcontroller, then brought a tiny Circuit Zero processor board and programmed it to measure temperature, humidity, altitude, VOCs, and voltage every 10 seconds and recorded it to an SD card so that we could analyze it. After programming 4 of our circuits, we sewed 2 Faraday fabric bags for 2 of the circuits. The protected one was our experimental payload, and the unprotected one was our control.
To verify the solar flare activity on the day of the balloon launch, we found a website which had the data from NOAA for August 10th. This showed no big spikes in solar flares on the time of the launch. We took the SD cards from the payload for each setup and downloaded the files. We then took the 4 CSV files and using ChatGPT converted into an Excel format. We then combined the 4 files into one file. We then analyzed the different fields, which were time, voltage, temperature, pressure, altitude, humidity, and VOCs, and ran some statistical tests on them. After analysis, we saw that the experiment payload with the Faraday fabric had a weak correlation between altitude and voltage, whereas the non-shielded experiment payload did not. This proves our hypothesis and shows that shielding is effective against EMIs in electronics. Our results show that the Faraday fabric-covered payload's voltage was not affected by the altitude compared to the non-covered payload voltage. The non-covered experiment voltage shows a weak correlation with altitude, while the covered experimental voltage remains mostly unaffected by altitude. This proves that Faraday fabric will protect electronics from damaging effects of solar flares and electromagnetic interference in space.
Some things we learned about during the High Altitude Balloon Challenge is how to program an Arduino, how to edit videos, how to solder, and how the solar flares affect electronics.
With the $5,000 reward, we plan to buy Arduino microcontrollers, sensors, and Raspberry Pis to help teach younger cadets and older cadets how to program. We need new computers for our growing Cyber Patriot teams, and we want to donate some money to the International Women's Air and Space Museum for a CAP-related display in their museum.
Thank you for organizing this challenge and encouraging cadets like us to research, discover, and innovate. As Benjamin Franklin said, tell me I forget, teach me I remember, involve me and I learn.
We are the Black Sheep!
In addition to the video, obviously, you have to have a really good patch. You have to have a really good science slide. The science slide is the most important thing out of all of them. So with that, I wanted to make sure I showed you their science slide. Again, if you want to download this, take a closer look, you can do so on the High Altitude Balloon Challenge website. All right, that's a great video. And as you saw, what their program was, it was to, using a Faraday fabric, protecting electronics from solar flares. And so obviously the science is the most important thing. Videos are nice, patches are nice, but as we already said before, Colonel Joe was very clear. Science has got to be the most important thing on this thing. So here is their science slide. feel free, go on the High Altitude Balloon Challenge website. It might take us a day or two to get all of these put up there. But once they're up there, feel free to grab these, take a look at them, review them. It might give you some insights for next year on what, really kind of makes a team go from being great to being outstanding and an award-winning team. So feel free to go take a look at that. And with that, we actually have already spoken to Ohio 131, and they have a little thank you message for us.
We're excited to accept the Kittinger Cup, and we learned a lot through this challenge. First, I would like to thank Mrs. Kittinger for her generous contribution and also honoring Colonel Kittinger's legacy. Thank you to all my teammates and mentors and everyone who has helped us create a successful project.
We are the Black Sheep!
You can't have an award-winning program without an award-winning team. And so with that, we wanted to kind of highlight a few of the folks that were on the team. So here is Ohio 131's team. It was led this year by Cadet Major John Anand. And we wanted to just one last, congratulations to Ohio 131 from the Ohio Wing Commander. And he has a special message for us as well. Let's take a listen to that.
It's with immense pride that I congratulate the OH-131 Cuyahoga County Cadet Squadron as the winners of the 2024 High Altitude Balloon Challenge and recipients of the prestigious Kittinger Cup. The squadron has demonstrated exceptional skill, innovation, and teamwork. The Cuyahoga County Cadets' achievement not only brings great honor to our wing, but also embodies the spirit and exploration and dedication championed by Colonel Joe Kittinger himself. Please join me in celebrating the remarkable accomplishments. Let's continue to reach new heights together. Congratulations, OH-131.
I know I mentioned it earlier, but we really do want to give a special shout out to the Air and Space Force Association, AFA, the Aerospace Education Council. We always work really, really closely with those folks. They're always huge supporters of everything that we do. We wouldn't have the awards that we are able to have if it wasn't for them, as well as Colonel Joe Kittinger's family for the Grand Prize Award. And so thank you to all that are involved with those two groups and those organizations in order to help us put this on every year. Hey, everybody. Well, it is the end of our awards program. However, we can't leave without talking about the incredible Colonel Joe. He's where we get this incredible program from. He was one of the inspirations for this program. He really helped to drive the conversations to get it off the ground. He is obviously the benefactor of the $5,000 Colonel Joe Kittinger Cup. And we do want to thank his wife for in memorial for keeping that award available to Civil Air Patrol and keeping his dream of this program alive. He absolutely loves working with the cadets. The next generation was so important to him, and keeping it science-based was so important to him, and helping people to have a goal to drive towards. And for those that don't know why Colonel Joe is so important, we're going to show you a quick video here.
Space is hostile. It's very hostile to man. Blood boils at 65,000 feet. The Project Excelsior was the first time anybody was outside of a spacecraft in a space environment. I'm Joe Kittinger. I spent 29 years in the United States Air Force. Half my career was spent in research and development, worked as a test pilot. The other half was a fighter pilot. I was a project officer on Project Excelsior. The two objectives of Project Excelsior was first, how to protect a man in a space environment, and second of all, how to provide the means of escape in very high altitude. When a person ejects at extreme high altitude, he is liable to spin. And the higher you eject, the more spinning you could do. Unfortunately, we didn't have aircraft that would go that high. The only thing that could get up that high was a balloon vehicle. The takeoff was in the morning at about 6 o'clock. The climb time from takeoff to 102,000 feet was about an hour and a half. and 40,000 feet, which is where my pressure suit inflates. And I suddenly discovered that a pressure suit glove, my right hand, was not working. I knew that if I told the people on the ground that it wasn't working, that they'd make me abort the flight. So I opted not to tell the people on the ground that I had this problem. I could not use my right hand during the flight. Everything I had to use my left hand. It swelled up about twice its normal size. Well, the sign on the bottom of the gondola was, "This is the highest step in space." Think about being at 102,000 feet. It was a very interesting experience for me to sit there and look at the horizon, and I could see over 400 miles from that altitude. My guy on the ground said, "Okay, we're over the position, you're cleared to jump." And I jumped. I fell for, it seemed like I wasn't moving at all. There was no crystal velocity. There's nothing you can see. So I rolled over my back, I looked up, and I saw the balloon flying into space. I said, "My gosh, that's amazing." And then suddenly I realized that the balloon was sitting still, and I was going down at a fantastic rate. And then the small drogue chute came out, and I free fell, stabilized from that altitude all the way down to 14,000 feet with my main parachute open. And then it was just a question of getting down to the ground. When I landed, my team was right there immediately. We were just ecstatic because we had accomplished what we set out to do. We had shown that man could go into space and work properly. We showed that we could protect him in a space environment. We showed that we could get a man down from high altitude. So there were a lot of firsts on the program. And as a result of this test, today, some 54 years later, every ejection seat in the world uses a small drogue chute to stabilize the free fall from high altitude. We were breaking barriers. We were setting new goals and exceeding those goals.
All right. And I want to give one little plug too. So if somebody really kind of wants to hear more from Colonel Joe, and not kind of in a 5 or 6 minute video, but kind of a longer form and specific to CAP, Colonel Joe about 4 years ago actually did a podcast with myself. And if you search Colonel Joe Kittinger, Aerospace Education Civil Air Patrol, you should be able to find the video between Colonel Joe and myself. Or if you just do the little magnifying glass on my channel name, you should be able to type in Colonel Joe Kittinger, and you should be able to find the video pretty easily. I don't have that many videos on the channel, so you could probably even just scroll down through the old videos and probably find it as well. But I think it's like an hour and a half, but he talks a lot about goal setting and the importance to work as a team, and really kind of gets into more depth about the importance of this program. And so if you're somebody that really kind of wants to learn more about where this program came from, more about Colonel Joe, the work that he did, please go take a listen to that. I think it'd be pretty great. And finally, the last thank you is going to go to you. This year, we had more squadrons represented than ever before. We hope that continues. If you are a squadron, if you're in a wing, tell the other squadrons. We have 167 squadrons were represented this year. That's mind-blowing to me. Of that 167, an even bigger number that's astounding to me, 1,500 plus cadets. We think it was quite a bit more than that. 1,500 plus cadets. 250 adults. We got representation from all 8 regions. Of that 167 squadrons, we had over 400 separate experiments that were all created to travel to the edge of space. I hope that you all enjoyed this year's program. I hope that you will all be interested in joining next year. I hope that you will advertise this to the squadrons around you. We have more space. If we get 400 squadrons, we will look to add more balloons. So we hope this program continues to grow. This is such a great opportunity for you, your squadrons, your cadets, to be able to really do something at a national level that you probably couldn't do on your own. And so we hope that you take advantage of it. So with that, I hope you all have a great night. Congratulations to our winners, and congratulations to everybody else who took part of the program. We'll see you next year. Have a good night, everybody.